Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cherry the Geek TV. I'm Joe Vanourney. Today we are joined by Theo Love. He is the director and executive producer of a brand new true crime four-part docuseries called The Furry Detectives, Unmasking a Monster, set to premiere Thursday, July 17th on Sundance TV. It will also be available to stream on Sundance Now as well as AMC Plus. Theo, welcome to Cherry the Geek TV.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe.
Let's start off, set up the premise of the Furry Detectives Unmasking a Monster. Set it up for people. What's the story?
Yeah. The one line is that this is about furries saving dogs. That's it in a nutshell. Now, the actual story takes place in 2018. There was a Twitter post that tagged some prominent furries in the furry fandom, and the post uncovered a huge ring of animal abusers. And the specific type of animal abuse is unspeakable. It is pure evil. And the fact that ordinary people looked at this crime and decided, hey, we're going to do something about it is extraordinary. This is a car wreck that people want to turn their head away from. And these furries actually wanted to do something about it. And law enforcement just wasn't in a position to take the case. And so if these people had not done what they did over the next, few years, there would be there would be so many innocent people, unfortunately, children and innocent animals that would be hurt. And so, at the core of it, this is a story about heroes and a different type of hero than you've ever seen because these heroes are furries.
And for those that don't know what furries are, explain the concept of a furry.
Yeah, furries are people that enjoy anthropomorphic activities. So that can be dressing up in a fursuit and having a what they call a fursona. So one of our main characters is a man named Patrick. He's a really great journalist in his own right, and he also has a fursona, and that fursona is Patch O'Fur. And that's a husky that wears like glitter and likes disco and has a really popular furry blog. So you can find furries all over the world. It is niche, but it's a lot bigger than you'd think. It is a lot bigger than you'd think. And it's a community that is I would say is defined by joy, playfulness, and acceptance of people who don't really fit in, in other areas, and they get together and they enjoy things. Like let's be honest, a lot of our favorite movies growing up were talking animals, and so a lot of times furries are portrayed as jokes in the media, ridiculed, and that's pretty unfair because the relatability is actually there if you want to look at it. And within this story, I think it's very unique because the furries were the heroes here. And so it's not a joke. It's dead serious, but at the same time we try to present the levity and the joy that exists in that fandom.
Tell me about the origin of the project, right? When did you first hear about this particular story? And when along the process did you decide, oh, you know what, this would be a great subject to make a docu-series, or maybe it started as a film and evolved into a docu-series? Walk me through that process.
Yeah, I was incredibly lucky to come onto this project once it was already developed. And when I first got a little write up on it, and I was like, no way, do not want to touch this story. The crime is too terrible. Like I don't want to live in that darkness for a year and a half making this thing. And it was only when I started to meet furries and I started to look at okay, this isn't a story that is glorifying or making excuses for, any of this bad behavior. This is a story about really joyful people who are willing to look at something really evil. And so yeah, I mean, if they can do it, I can do it. And so I had a really great team around me, with Alex Gibney's Jigsaw. That was the production company. AMC, I would say, is the bravest network out there to be able to put support behind this story. They get so much credit in my book. I was like, why do you guys want me to direct this? I've done a lot of comedy stuff. I do quirky things, and I was like, this is heavy. This is heavy. And then I realized, I was like, you know what? It's too heavy to watch, actually. And so the main goal here, or the main challenge for me as a filmmaker is how do we put enough sugar on this to help the medicine go down? So,
I was gonna
uh,
ask you about that because I watch a lot of true crime. There's a lot of true crime documentaries and podcasts and things like that, mostly about, serial killers and whatnot. And they say that when you watch violence or that kind of thing, you get desensitized to it a bit. And I think there's probably some truth to that. But I'll be honest. This is my first exposure to some of the things that are in this documentary, right? And I'm not desensitized to it, right? So there's layers that are uncovered, and every time you're like, oh, it can't get any worse than that, and then you uncover another layer, and you're just like, oh my God, is word there? And you can't, like you said earlier, you cannot. They're unspeakable crimes, right? So I'm having this visceral reaction, and I'm not even being told what the crime you're dancing around what they are and lightly trying to say what it is without saying it, because I don't think you could put it on TV or to and show it to people if they actually know what's happening. So I'm sure as a filmmaker you're learning more about what the actual crimes were than you can show. What's your reaction as a human being when you're hearing that, and what kind of walk me through like the editing process? Like, I mean, you kind of did, like, you got to kind of sugarcoat it. Talk to me
mm.
about that.
Yeah, and I maybe sugarcoat is it might be the wrong term here, because the the yeah, as you said, the reality was that we could not even tell you the crime. We make 4 episodes of television and don't tell you what the crime is. That's crazy. But I made a decision from the beginning that nobody was going to watch the material. I mean, at the core of the story are videos and pictures. There's real evidence here, and I didn't want anybody to be exposed to that because it can have a very negative effect. There was a police officer that I interviewed who left the police force because of this case. I
Hmm.
mean, it has such an impact. And so, the I didn't want to make this to shock an audience. I don't want to make this because, to be provocative. Like that is not the point. And there was one moment where I felt there was a need as a documentary filmmaker and to look at the evidence to I don't at the time I was like to verify in some way what it was. And I opened up the file and I couldn't even press play. So I blurred the image and then I pressed play, stopped it after a second, and then I scrubbed through it, and then I couldn't. I mean, the whole thing was probably like 20 seconds of attempt, and I said, this is not good for my brain. I won't do this to myself, and I won't do it to an audience. And so I don't tease the audience. I don't in any way want to disturb the audience after they finish this film. But we do need to look at the evil that exists in the world so that we can put an end to it. And if you hide and you ignore evil, it will grow and spread.
We're almost out of time. Before we go, I want to ask you about assembling the people to talk about this, right? So you get the furry detectives, the Furvengers was what they're called, and I can understand why they would want to participate and tell their story. As you say, they're the heroes of the story. But there's a couple people you talk to in the film that are the perpetrators, right? They were or accomplices in these crimes. And I'm fascinated that they would sit down and talk to you because it seems like they thought you weren't going to call them out on on what they were doing. Like, oh, yeah, I'm participating in the documentary, and then you like, well, didn't you do this? Oh, and then they're like, oh, no, I didn't do that. They either lie or they skirt around it, and they seem surprised. Were you surprised that they participated in the documentary?
I mean, I'm always surprised when somebody agrees to an interview, but here I am doing an interview. So, I always try to find a good reason for somebody to do it. And so, a lot of times you have one-sided stories. And so I would say to these individuals, I would say, this story is being told with or without you. And so you can have a chance to respond and you can have a chance to own your own, meaning be the one to tell your story, or you can sit back and watch people make accusations and not defend yourself. And I think a good defense lawyer is going to say, don't take the stand. But, in these situations, people felt like that was a worthwhile risk. Now, when someone lies on camera, usually I know, and usually I don't call them out, but the edit always calls them out because after a lie, I can just prove that it's a lie with the next scene. So I am always surprised how people try to lie to me when the camera's running.
Well, it's a remarkable docu-series. Buckle up, people. This is a true crime docu-series like you've never seen before. It's called The Furry Detectives, Unmasking a Monster. First episode premieres Thursday, July 17th on Sundance TV, and it will also be available to stream on Sundance Now as well as AMC Plus. Theo, thank you so much for chatting with us today on Cherry the Geek TV.
Joe, thank you so much.
When you have evidence of some serious crime happening,
either you're going to do something about it or you're part of the problem.
People involved in this story are
furries.
Furries.
What is a furry? Someone who enjoys anthropomorphic creatures.
Hey!
It's fun and loving and diverse.
You will be accepted.
They don't care if you identify as a pineapple.
Most furries are people who would never harm animals.
One day, I got a call. We have a problem in the community.
There were these postings of videos and pictures with living and deceased animals.
There were people so twisted.
And they are hiding in plain sight.
It's time that the furry fandom take a stand.
We nicknamed ourselves the Furvengers. Let's get these guys.
If you want to try to prove that I'm guilty, go ahead, because there's nothing there.
He's been lying this whole time.
This was a global operation.
I had just kicked a wasp's nest.
You felt like you were kind of opening Pandora's box and you didn't know what was going to shake out.